Oh yes, there will be HDR.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mid-Level Media. We're here today to review Saw 2 on 4K from Lionsgate. We got this nice Amazon exclusive Steelbook right here. So happy Halloween, guys. I figured I would watch this. I watched it this morning and crank out a review for you guys for Halloween because if it's Halloween, guys, we know this from, the trailers back in the day, it must be Saw. So I'm excited to dive into this one because I just got done watching it, all the special features. Now, I will say there are steelbooks right now available for Saw 3 and Saw 4. I did not get those. I only got the Saw 2 4K steelbook, and I'm going to tell you why. Because when this thing first went up for pre-order, it was like 23, 24 bucks, and I was like, "You know what? That's a good price for a new steelbook of a Saw movie." So I put the pre-order in. Then the other two went up for pre-order. Those were $34.99. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm willing to pay that much for Saw because honestly, and we'll talk about it in this review, I've never been the biggest Saw fan. I mean, it was cool when they were coming out in the theaters. I did go see them. Most of them opening night until I think about Saw 6 is when I kind of tapped out of the Saw franchise. But it was an exciting time. I remember going to see them. I remember enjoying them, but they didn't leave a lasting impression with me. I don't go back and revisit them too often. I got this 10 film collection right here from Lionsgate. It's got all 10 of the movies that are currently out there they've made so far. They're surely going to make more at some point, so there'll be more collections to come. But I've got this. I've got every Saw film on Blu-ray. I've even got that 8-pack set as well that had all of them up until Jigsaw on Blu-ray. And again, when it comes to the Saw movies, I'm not like a massive fan. So do I need to spend $35 a piece on these steelbooks? No, I do not. But 23 to 24, I went ahead and locked in this pre-order, and this one went back up. I think it's now like $34.99, same as Saw 2 and Saw 3 and Saw 4. But I locked in the pre-order. I don't know if it was a mistake or whatever. Got it for 23, so I was happy to get this one in. And I may order Saw 3 and Saw 4 at some point. If those drop down in the 20s, I may go ahead and get them, and I don't think they're going to sell out. I really don't, at least not anytime soon, so I think I'm okay there. Here's the thing about Saw 2. It's directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, and which he's got some great special features on this, which I can't wait to get into. But the thing with Saw 2 is the first one's directed by James Wan, and I think a lot of people, just because it's directed by James Wan, because it was the first one, and I feel like the ending was the most impactful, of the franchise. I feel like a lot of people look back at the first Saw film, they're like, that's the best, and that's the only good one in the franchise. Like even the haters would say that. The first Saw is the best. I actually think the first Saw film is kind of shitty. I think it's a really bad movie that has a great ending, like twist ending that just kind of colors like what your view of the rest of the film. I think as a movie itself, it's really kind of bad. And I remember thinking that back in the theater in 2004 when we went to go see it. Me and my friends went to go see that movie. It was a bad movie until you got to the ending and that twist, when John Kramer stands up, like that was like mind-blowing. Like that was such a great twist. Saw 2 doesn't have that impactful of a twist at the end, although I think it's a very good twist. And I'm not going to reveal it here. But Saw 2, I think, is a better film. I think it's a better film. It's got a better actor. I mean, you got Donnie Wahlberg in this. You got Dina Meyer, who Dina Meyer's in the first one, but I feel like she plays a bigger role in this one. And I think all the actors like in the group in the house are better actors than in the first one. Carrie Elwes, look, I love Carrie Elwes and in roles like Twister and Liar Liar, of course, The Princess Bride. He's not very good in the first Saw film. And Lee Winnell, he's a writer. He's not an actor. He's not very good in the film either. So I think the acting, you got Monica Potter, who's pretty good, but I think the acting in the first one is not great across the board. Whereas the second one's got much better acting. I think the story's a lot better. I think the stakes are a little bit higher. And you actually get Tobin Bell, like an actual Tobin Bell performance as Jigsaw. You don't get that in the first one because you're not supposed to know that he's the one that's doing it. You don't get that reveal till the end. So I do think that Saw 2, as a film, as a Saw movie, is a better movie than the first movie. Now, getting into the 4K restoration here, and this was a new native 4K restoration from the original camera negative. This movie was shot on 35 millimeter back in 2004, 2005, whenever they shot the film. And it was approved by the director, Darren Lynn Bousman. So this is a true 4K restoration. Even though this movie was finished as a 2K digital intermediate, they went back to the original elements, native 4K, 35 millimeter. I think that's very important to note here. And you can pretty much take probably what I'm saying here with Saw 2 in all aspects, honestly, the movie, the transfers, features, everything, and probably apply those to Saw 3 and Saw 4 because he oversaw the restoration for all of these movies. And I think visually, you know, they're pretty similar. The aesthetic of the Saw films, I don't feel like ever really changed. But I remember reviewing the first Saw film on 4K back in 2021, I think that is when that came out. And I remember thinking that was a pretty good 4K, pretty good upgrade over the Blu-ray. I feel largely the same about this. I feel like there's a lot that you can do with that HDR and that Dolby Vision when you apply it to a movie like this. There's so many really dark, dingy moments in the film. I think that this does a much better job when you got characters, and the director talks about this when he's talking about the restoration, which I love features like that. And I love that Lionsgate is including features like that. But like when characters are walking down these like dark hallways, when you're watching it on Blu-ray, it's too lit up and you can see the background, you can see the hallway. But when you're watching it in 4K with that HDR, it darkens things up. It puts the focus on the character as he's walking down. It makes things much more suspenseful and atmospheric when you're watching this movie. So I do think that 4K with that HDR and Dolby Vision goes a long way to improve the picture quality and the overall experience watching these films, these types of films on 4K. So I thought that Lionsgate and Darren Lynn Bousman did an excellent job restoring this film to 4K. There's some incredible detail. You got a lot of, you know, up close shots of John Kramer, of Donnie Wahlberg. They're having a conversation pretty much throughout the entire movie, going back and forth. Up close facial shots on John Kramer. All that stuff looks great. You have incredible detail. You know, the red hooded outfit that he's wearing is definitely very bright, very vivid, color, very rich in color. And then when you got blood all over his face as well, that looks great with that HDR. And then all the stuff inside the house. Again, the aesthetic of these films is very grungy. It's very, you know, ugly kind of. It's got ugly greens, ugly yellows. But all that stuff does look really good when you enhance it with that HDR. It doesn't pop like some other movies with more bright, vivid colors, but like those gloomy colors, they can also look really good when you apply that HDR to them. And they definitely look a lot more, I guess, natural and more realistic, I feel like, than maybe the Blu-ray or the DVD did. Only problem here is, and this is the same problem that we have with The Devil's Rejects, but again, there's reasons for this, but the unrated cuts is included in this release. It's actually on the Blu-ray, and I was looking back, and I want to say that every Blu-ray of Saw 2 was the unrated version. I don't think you could ever watch the theatrical version on Blu-ray, at least. I think you could maybe on the DVDs, but when I was going through this set right here and going through the DVDs and the Blu-rays, I could only find the unrated cuts that you could watch. So it's good in a sense that you can finally watch the theatrical cut again, like if you want to watch a theatrical cut. Now, the only thing that the unrated cut really does is it adds like some extended scenes with Donnie Wahlberg and John Kramer talking. And then it definitely adds more blood and more gore, more lingering shots of blood and gore. So I'm sure like most people, like if they want to watch Saw 2, like if they want to watch a Saw film, they're watching it for the blood and the gore. So you're going to want to watch the unrated cut. I get that. But the thing is, the director, Darren Lynn Bousman, actually wanted to bring back the theatrical cut and kind of make that the showcase for this 4K restoration. Like he really, I guess it's not that he doesn't like the unrated cut, but he does like prefer the idea of having that original version that was screened in theaters that everybody saw in theaters be the version that was upgraded to 4K. Like he liked that idea, so that's what they did. They did the 4K restoration of the theatrical cut, and that's what's on 4K here. But the unrated cut is at least included here, unlike The Devil's Rejects, which didn't include the director's cut, the unrated cut at all. This at least includes it on the Blu-ray, but if you want to watch the theatrical cut on Blu-ray, you cannot. You can only watch the theatrical cut on 4K. And there was another thing that was out there that said that they couldn't find the elements for the unrated cut anyway. So, but again, Darren Lynn Bousman was fine with that. He actually preferred the idea of doing the theatrical cut. So I don't know. I mean, people are going to say they're going to whatever they want to say, like, oh, they should have been able to find them. They should have done it. So they should have done both or whatever. And I get it. You got these boutique labels. You got these other studios. They're doing both cuts on 4K and putting them out on Blu-ray. I mean, we just got that with Night of the Living Dead from Sony. So I 100% get it. I get the frustration, but just know that there are reasons, and the director prefers a theatrical cut, and he was fine with doing the theatrical cut only on 4K. So there's that. Now, let's go ahead and get into the sound, because this was a brand new Dolby Atmos sound upgrade with this release right here. So I think that's all you get with this as well on 4K. Now, if you watch the Blu-ray, you got the 5.1, but on the 4K, you only got the Dolby Atmos as an option for sound. But, you know, I don't have that full sound setup, but I imagine if you do, like, this is a film that has a lot of loud noises, a lot of ambient sounds, like when you're in the actual, like, lair, the house where everybody's at and they're all walking around. And there are some, like, big, you know, startling noises and moments in the movie that does sound really great. And I can imagine if you got that full sound setup, and I mean, I've got a sound bar that kind of simulates the Dolby Atmos with the subwoofer, but I don't have the full setup. But to me, it sounded great. Like, the sound was awesome. The director was talking about restoring the sound and how cool it was, and how the movie sounded like it had never sounded before, and it just sounded spectacular. So to him, like, he thinks this is the best way to hear this film with the Dolby Atmos on 4K. So, like, again, if you got that full setup, I imagine you're going to be completely immersed in the Saw experience because of the sound. Now, getting into the unboxing here, guys, you got this nice Steelbook, which I love how Lionsgate is smart enough to match the aesthetic of the first Saw. Not every studio does this, guys, so you got to appreciate this. I love how they're smart enough to match the aesthetic of the first Saw movie on Steelbook, because that is a great Steelbook that looks very similar to this. You take it off. I love the back of that. You got Jigsaw dragging Carrie Elwes through the door. It's such a great back. But right here, you got the front cover with Jigsaw wearing the mask. You turn it on the back. You got all the details right there, guys. Special features, which we'll get into in a second. You got the specs. You got the casting list. You remove the slip cover, and you reveal John Kramer right there with all the puzzle pieces, jigsaw pieces. That's a really cool image. And then you got the syringes on the back right there, the needles, which is a big moment from Saw 2. Like, that's what I think of first, for sure. When I think of Saw 2, I think of the needle pits. Like, that 100%, like, that was a visual that stuck in my mind for like 20 years after this movie came out. I always remember that scene. But you open this up, and you got both right there. You do have a digital code in here as well. And you do have both the Blu-ray and the 4K with new disc art. I will say that it's a different Blu-ray. Like, all the features that are on the 4K, all the new features are on this Blu-ray, in addition to all the legacy features as well. And honestly, like, when I was watching it on Blu-ray for a little bit, it kind of looked like they did a little bit of work to the Blu-ray compared to the old Blu-ray. Right here. And I don't know if that's the case or if my mind was playing tricks on me, but the actual Blu-ray in this looked a little bit better. So I'm not sure if it was a new scan on this Blu-ray, if they did a little bit of work to it. I really don't know, because that information wasn't provided for the Blu-ray in this particular set. But yeah, you do have a new Blu-ray here that has the new menu screen that this does as well. And yeah, I love the disc art. I think the disc art is great. You got the spirals. And then this is the best part, guys. We just talked about this, but the interior artwork is the needle pit, which is super awesome. Now, diving into the special features, this is really cool because you've got 3 brand new special features for this release. And that is why, look, at this point in time, guys, like, I really don't have a problem. Again, I have a personal issue with paying $35 for a Steelbook release of the Saw movies, just because I'm not a huge fan. But I really don't have a problem with them charging, you know, 30 to 35 bucks for these releases, because of the work that they're putting into them. Like, what Lionsgate is doing for these releases: new restorations, new sound upgrades, 3 brand new features. You got a new feature with the director, Darren Lynn Bousman, that's about 12 minutes long, where he looks back on the making of the movie, how this wasn't originally supposed to be a Saw movie. Like, this was his script that they kind of adapted into a Saw movie because they needed a sequel, and they were going to do his movie, and then they're like, no, we need a Saw sequel, so let's just make his movie a Saw movie. So he talks about that, some of the obstacles there, some of the personal challenges that he had to overcome. and kind of set his ego aside to kind of basically abandon his project to embrace this new one. So that was a really good feature. And then you got about 12 minutes with Tobin Bell talking about Saw 2, which is really great as well, because he talks about how he actually gets to perform in this one where he really didn't get to in the first one. That's a great feature. And then you got establishing shot with Darren Lynn Bousman, which I talked about before, but I love these kind of features, guys. I love these features that just dive in to the restoration process, some of the decision making that's going on there, and it's great. This is a great feature. It's about 6-7 minutes. So this is about 30 minutes of brand new features. Then you got all the past stuff, the legacy stuff, the Scott Tibbs documentary, the story behind the story, Greg Hoffman in memoriam, bits and pieces, the props of Saw 2, Zombie, a short student film by Darren Lynn Bousman, and you got 3 audio commentaries here. So overall, guys, this is a fantastic release from Lionsgate. You can pretty much take what I say about this and apply it to the other 2, Saw 3 and Saw 4, because there's brand new interviews on those as well with the director, Darren Lynn Bousman, and Tobin Bell, because he did all 3 of these movies. And I imagine they're going to work with the next director that did Saw 5 and Saw 6. I think that's somebody different. I think it's the same director that did Saw 10. So I imagine those are coming somewhere down the line. But a great release. Again, I'm not a massive fan of the Saw films, so I can't appreciate it probably like a huge Saw fan can, but I love that a release like this is out there for a horror sequel like Saw 2, and they're actually treating these movies, giving them the official definitive treatment, even though they're in box sets. And I totally get it. You're like, I got all these movies on Blu-ray in a $15 box set. Why am I going to pay $105 to buy just 3 of them 4K Steelbook? I get it, but for fans, that's awesome. And I kind of compare it to A Nightmare on Elm Street, because I am a huge fan of A Nightmare on Elm Street, not so much of a fan of Saw, but if they would have done all the Nightmare on Elm Street films, nice Steelbook editions with brand new features on all of them, like, I would have been all for it, even though some people would say, I don't need all that, just give me the box set with a couple new features, what we got. I would want that definitive treatment for the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels. So it's awesome that the Saw fans get this for the Saw films. I think that's really cool. And I think Lionsgate absolutely nailed this release. It's awesome. So thank you so much for watching this review of Saw 2. Again, happy Halloween. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos, and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.